Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets from now until Super Bowl 56 on February 6, 2022 from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1,200. That's versus the regular price of $19.99. This discount comes out to just $3 a day. As an added bonus, customers who take advantage of the Super Bowl to Super Bowl All Access Pass will also receive $200 in wager bucks to use at any handicapper at WagerTalk over the next 12 months. Just head over to WagerTalk.com, pick your favorite handicapper in the experts drop-down menu, and lock them in through next year for only $100 a month.
What's up, guys? Welcome back here to Puck Time on WagerTalk TV. Yesterday, we have a bunch of games. Today, just 2 games. We will find a way to make you some money. I am Andrew McInnis, joined by Carmine Bianco as usual, and former NHL Matthew Barnaby. Happy to have Matthew here to help us break down these games on a day with just 2 games. But Matthew, we'll find a way to make some money. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, it's really become a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday league, and we get to sit back on the other days and really dissect those games. So just because there's only a few games doesn't mean we can't make money today, right?
Absolutely. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Carmine Bianco, we'll start with you. First of all, it was a jam-packed day yesterday. We'll get your quick thoughts on yesterday's games and roll right into today's pretty much the marquee matchup, the big game we're all really concerned about and want to talk about, which is the Philadelphia Flyers taking on the Boston Bruins.
I took a couple of Barnaby blows to the head yesterday in NHL, so I'm kind of looking forward to forgetting about what happened in the NHL last night and focusing on the 2 games we got going tonight. So they're not the best of games. Well, one of them should be the Bruins Flyers game should be the marquee game of the night. I'm sure.
So let's start with that game then, Carm. Give us your thoughts here, side or total, what you're thinking here. Bruins minus 135 favorites, total listed at 5.5. The last time these 2 teams played, it was very competitive. There was an upset. There was a blown lead. There was a total drama. What are you thinking here for this matchup? The Bruins off that extraordinary comeback.
Yeah, listen, Andrew, you and I were on the opposite sides of that. I know we've discussed this one before. I was on the Bruins. I thought the Bruins would take it to them in both those games at the Garden, and they did. But listen, it switches over to Philly now, and I talked about on that show, and I'm going to talk about it again. Carter Hart's splits, much better goalie at home. I think he was like 34-13 at home, as opposed to I think he's like 9 or 10 and 16 or 17 on the road. At home, he's the confirmed starter for tonight. And it's one of those things. I said the Flyers would play much better with Hart in net after they hung him out to dry in a couple of those starts. And we're getting plus money on them tonight. So I'm going to keep this short and to the point. I like the Flyers tonight getting the plus money here.
Yeah, Matthew, to Carmine's point, I was on the Philadelphia Flyers in that game 1 of their 2-game set. I had actually the under and I had the Flyers. And of course, the game goes over and they blow the lead and Boston wins. But Boston just seems to be finding a way to win right now. Winners in 5 of their last 6. They have that extraordinary comeback, like I mentioned, against the Washington Capitals. How do you feel about this matchup here as the Bruins look to keep rolling?
Yeah, I was on Philadelphia, and let's call a spade. These 2 teams are the class of the division. I had Philadelphia as the best team in that division at the start of the year. So I was on Philadelphia as well. I had the over, but Boston played the under a lot early on throughout the season without David Pastrnak in the lineup. Definitely a different team with him in, although he's not at 100% quite yet. I'm Philadelphia. If you're getting plus money at home dogs are covering roughly 75% of the time. So for me, Philadelphia is a different team at home. They've been great all year at home. Carmine alluded to the numbers that Carter Hart has, especially at home. So I'm getting plus money at Philadelphia, a tough place to play when there's fans. Obviously not many there right now, but still a very good team at home. So I'm all over the Philadelphia Flyers tonight.
Well, it's a great point that both of you guys raise about the home ice advantage, because let's face it, guys, a lot of people like to say the home ice advantage has to do with the fans, But I think there's a lot more to that. And right now, it's not really traveling and being locked in your hotel room. They can't go anywhere on the road. The home ice advantage isn't always just about the fans, as of course Matthew would attest to. It's just about being at home and being familiar. You're at your home ice and your home arena. So many more factors than just the fans. Of course, the fans do fire you up, but these teams are hitting at a great clip, like you guys mentioned, not just because of the fans, but being so comfortable at home. And I would say for myself, the angle I'm looking at here is there's two ways to look at this. There's the Boston Bruins off that great comeback, like I keep mentioning. So there's one of two things that happen. They rally off that, they feel good about themselves, and they say, hey, look, we shouldn't even have been in this game. We found a way to win. Let's have a better start. Or the option number two is, they win a game they probably shouldn't have, and then they kind of fall off the next game, and Philadelphia is waiting for them. So either way, I think we can all agree it should be an outstanding game. But I'm with these guys. I like the plus money, take the underdog here with a solid goaltender. And for this Bruins team, they didn't really look the best defensively in that game, and I'm looking to see what will change from one game to the next for them. So I think it's pretty much of a consensus play on this show for the Philadelphia Flyers. We all agree it should be a pretty outstanding game. Looking forward to it, guys, because this next one isn't really the barn burner of the night, that's for sure. The Red Wings and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Correct me if I'm wrong, either of you, but I believe this is the biggest favorite so far of the season. The Lightning minus 340 on the night here. Ever since that Lightning team got shut out, Matthew, I'll go to you here first. There was 88 straight games they went without getting shut out. They come back, they win 4-3 against Nashville. They were up 4-1. They blew a little bit of a lead. And the next game, they absolutely blow Nashville out even worse. How do you feel about this one here? They're playing a poor team. Do they maintain their level of focus?
Yeah, well, you can't play the money line in a one game. It just doesn't. There's no value in it. So to me, I'm all over the puck line in Tampa. This is a feeding frenzy when you play against bottom feeders. We saw it with Edmonton and Ottawa. Big players line up for these games, and it's cookie time. They want to get their points on the board. To me, that points to an over when you're looking at 5.5. I don't think Detroit will do much scoring. I think Tampa will do a lot of it. So I'm on the puck line, even though Tampa hasn't been great on the puck line this year. They are playing Detroit, and I'm fading Detroit and Ottawa all year long. So I'm all over Tampa Bay and the puck line. I'm also on the over 5.5 goals.
Carmine, it's very easy to just come on here and say, you know what, Detroit's the weaker team. Is there any way you can look at this to find value with the team total or alternative spread or anything like that?
You can. Just before I go into this one, I want to touch on what we were talking about in that last game about home ice. One of the biggest things, and Matt will tell you, is home ice. Andrew, you get that last change. You get the last change. It's line matching, and you have a guy like Alain Vigneault. He knows what to do, especially against a Boston team. He's in the defensive zone. He's going to get the right guys out there because that's a team that can put a ton of pressure on you. Getting to tonight's game, yeah, it's like you said, you can't lay the 360. It's in the unlikely event that somehow Detroit mails in their best or plays their best game of the year and picks up points. You're killing your bankroll. You can never take it. It's got to be one of these puck line ones, or you can look at the team total for goals. Andrew, I know you like these team total ones, and you're not laying as much juice if you figure Tampa is going to score 4 themselves tonight. Over 3.5 is about $1.50. Laying $1.50 might be a better way to go. Detroit's going to be one of the worst teams in the league, along with Ottawa, but they're in a rebuilding stage. And this is one of those times, unlike, and Matt, you don't know this, but I absolutely am not a fan of the Leafs. I'm a Sabre fan through and through. And I make fun of the Leafs many times because my friends all talk about the 5-year plan that started in 1967 and 5 years later, and it's another 5 years. Anyways, with that said, Yzerman is in Detroit now. He is going to rebuild his team. They have some great talent out in Europe. I talked about that defenseman they have, Cedar, who's just absolutely the Scott Stevens of knocking guys' chiclets out with these body checks. They'll be a good team in years to come. So this is one of those years where if they tank, so be it. I get a first-round pick. They're just going to build a team. As far as they're not as bad as Ottawa, but they're nowhere close to staying in a game with Tampa. So for me, it's going to be Tampa, probably on the alternate line, laying a couple goals, and the team total 3.5 minus 150. All right, we seem to have lost Andrew. I think he's outside shoveling the snow, or he's got some bad vibes. What I'm going to do, Matt, is I actually have a question for you, which I know you were on Wager Talk today with Teddy and the Prez, and he talked about whether, as a player, whether you discussed betting lines in the dressing room, or that you guys were underdogs to a team or big favorites. Putting that sort of taboo issue aside, now that you're out of sports betting, do you take into account when you're looking at games, do you rely on your experience of things like knowledge of injuries, wear and tear of long road trips, or even and because we discussed this, how much stock do you put in a backup goalie being named as a starter that night, and not like a Tuukka Rask, Halak situation, but like the Leafs had, where it was Freddie Anderson or Hutchinson, and Hutchinson hadn't won in like 10 or 11 starts. Does that factor into your sports betting?
It's massive. It actually plays a lot more in now that what I do for a living now, and that's bet on sports and break down matchups. I probably didn't put as much into it, but probably more the subconscious. When you play, when your backup's going in and he hasn't played for 2 weeks, you're going to play a little bit more reserved. You're not going to take the same chances. At least I wasn't with a Dwayne Rolison in there that I would with a Dominic Hasek. So I also know from a scoring point of view, when you have your backup in, you usually play a little bit tighter. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they play the exact same way. It doesn't matter who's in net. You can put the E-bug in net, and they're going to play an offensive attack. But, yeah, certainly all that goes into it. Backup goaltenders, playing on the road is especially something different. You brought up last change. Look at deeper teams, especially in a year of COVID where you're playing 56 games. You might play 3 and 3 nights. You might play 5 games in 7 days, depending on where it is. Teams like the Montreal Canadiens, teams that are really deep, are going to do really well because they're not taxing their top guys 27, 30 minutes on the back end. They're not taxing their forwards 23, 24 minutes like the teams that are average, that are just trying to get into the playoffs, that they have to. So deeper teams this year, I think, will be even more prevalent as the season extends. So all those circumstances certainly to play in, and what I think about when making my wagers every single day.
And I would think as far as in keeping with that subject of deeper teams, let's look at like last night's game or the first couple of games of the Winnipeg Calgary series. They get the night off tonight, but they play tomorrow. It'll be the third game in 4 nights. Are we looking at like as far as not just the sort of defensive corps, but like what team can roll out 4 consistent lines and give that team sort of the what's the word I'm looking for here? A better chance of obviously winning game 3 of the series.
Yeah, usually I'm looking for value in those games. I think both teams are very, very close in my evaluation. I think I had Calgary a little ahead of Winnipeg this year. Certainly without Laine in that lineup, I probably lean towards Calgary, even though Winnipeg, I picked them last game. I'll flip-flop and I'll look for value in those games as most times when those two teams play, it's going to be really, really close. I think they're very, very even. Both have very good goaltenders. If you look at Markstrom coming over from Vancouver, the guy's a stud. Hellebuck, we know what he can do. He's done it for multiple years now. So I always look for value, but those two teams are going to flip-flop all year long. And I always, almost to the point, when one team wins the game before, I'm probably going to flip to the other team because I know how close they are and I know how hard it is to beat the same team twice in a row or even 3 times in a row, whatever that number might be, on multiple nights when you're such close teams and such a minuscule difference between the two.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I've taken that similar approach in flip-flopping with games, and in some where we see like a 4-game series where the first 2, let's say the Vegas Arizona is probably the best one I can think of off the top of my head. Vegas won the first two, and I figured if there was going to be a flat spot, it was going to be in that first game that they played in Arizona, and they did lose that one, and then we just flipped back to Vegas again in the fourth game. And we're seeing with some of these, it's we talked about it in our preseason discussion about this season. It's going to be it's a much different season with less travel, so the whole road trip thing isn't as bad as it normally would be going East Coast to West Coast. And the fact that it takes on almost like a baseball format in playing teams 3, sometimes 4 times. So it's something that I think you have to factor in. And as you said, it's like a playoff series. When a team loses the first 2 games, that third game for the team that is up 2-0 is one of the toughest games to win in a playoff series. Maybe you can elaborate on that. You've been in the playoffs many times with my boys, the Sabres. So anything you want to add to that?
I love the format this year. Obviously, it's different, and some people love it, some people hate it. But I love watching the 3-game series. I love seeing back-to-back games. It reminds me a little of my first year. It really creates rivalries, and we're going to start to see more and more of that. And yes, once you get up 2-0 in the series, there's almost like you pull off the pedal a little bit and put on the brake, and you're like, okay, we're good, and the whole thing is going into if you're going on the road, okay, let's get a split. You have to have a different mentality, but I think there's real trends that we're starting to see, and teams that, you're able to fade. Like Ottawa Senators are a perfect example. I'm a New York Jets fan. I faded New York all year long, and I think they ended up being 6-10 against the spread. I don't bet with my heart. I watch with my heart, but I bet with my brains. Ottawa's a team that I'm going to hammer against, and I'm going to take the losses. They're going to win some games. We know the parity in the National Hockey League, how close it can be. But I think if you're betting against a team like the Ottawa Senators all year long, you're going to make a lot of money and be up a lot of units. But as for, back-to-back games and on the road, yeah, it's definitely a different year. But I think we're going to see more and more trends evolve as we go through this year.
Yeah, and Andrew is back, which is good. He was using Buster's Wi-Fi from Mexico or whatever, but he is back, which is good. But I wholeheartedly agree with you on the Ottawa thing. If you take a team and that they are an inherently bad team throughout the year, there's going to be spots where they put together 2 or 3 wins, but this isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. And if you look at over the course of a whole season, betting against Ottawa, as you said, you're going to make a ton of money.
And I'm a progressive bettor too. So when a team is down, I treat it like I do blackjack, and it's not going 50-50 or 60-40. It's knowing when a team's down, hammering that team just like I do in blackjack. I'm a very progressive bettor, and I don't like to trade punches with people. I like to find a soft spot in the market or a soft team or a team that's struggling, and that's kind of where I find I make my most money doing it.
Look, we all know technology can be technology. I hate to see it, and I hate the panic I went through after my internet decided to do what it did. But I do have a few questions to wrap up, and then we'll close the show with some best bets with the 3 of us, with only just 2 games, of course. We'll try and get some winners and some best bets out to you guys. But the first question I wanted to ask you, which is just, pretty generic one, Matthew, but pretty much just ask you how the game has changed to you, whether it's speed or any type of things like that. And then to expand on what you said with the Prez on WagerTalk today, just about the road trips, because you said a lot of things that I've already kind of thought about, was more so betting overs late in the road trip, start the road trip with unders, play very cautious, then they kind of get loose and fatigued. I've always believed that with time off or with a fatigue, the offense doesn't go away. It's just defense. So could you just touch on the way the game has changed and then elaborate on your thoughts on road trips?
Yeah, when I look at road trips going East Coast to West Coast, West Coast to East Coast, I think a lot of people make a big deal, but early on in road trips, guys are excited to get away from their wives. Guys are excited to sleep in a bedroom and get a full night's sleep away from their young kids. Predominantly, that's what it is, because they have kids at such young ages. So, it's almost excitement that you're getting on the road. As you go through and you start to go, so let's say East Coast to West Coast, and you play 3 and 4 nights, Anaheim, LA, and then San Jose, that fatigue starts to kick in of playing multiple games in multiple minutes and a little bit of travel, even though that they're close. But physically, you're tired a little bit, but it translates into, feeling good with the puck. I think it's the mental side as you get through more than the physical side, and you start having lapses defensively. And that's what I kind of see as, man, shit, I don't make that mistake on night one when I'm mentally sharp. But on the fourth night of the trip or the fifth night of the trip, playing third game in 4 nights, I find that those mistakes mentally really hurt you on the back end, and we don't see that on the offensive end. I still think you can score, and but I really like the overs as teams go through those road trips for sure. And for myself, how the game's changed. Obviously, the physicality is much different. It's much quicker now. And from a betting perspective, 2 things. If I'm betting Tampa Bay tonight on the puck line and Detroit scores, I actually pray for Detroit to score early in the first 5 minutes so those odds come down, and I like hammering just like I do when Kansas City goes down 3-0 and then 10-0 to the Buffalo Bills. Live betting becomes very, very prevalent. When you like a team, it's like a stock. If you like GameStop at $325, well, you're gonna love it at $321. I wouldn't buy it at $321, but I think you catch the drift there. So I think there's really a lot of value on that, and obviously power plays. You can be down 2-0. When I played, game over. You're hooking a guy. You're not getting many scoring chances. Now you're down 2-0. I mean, anything can happen. We know that with the amount of power plays and the way the power plays and penalties are called.
Great stuff there from Matthew Barnaby. Find him on Twitter, Matt Barnaby 3636. Look, I feel the same way, and I'm really happy to hear you share those. We have our 5% plays, our top-rated plays at the website, Matthew. And last season, the majority of those plays for me, which were very successful, were betting overs on the end of these road trips, whether it was east to west or west to east, just expecting an absolute goal fest. So happy to hear you share the exact same thoughts as I do. Guys, let's just go around the horn real quick. We'll get some best bets on the show. I know it's just 2 games, so we'll try and start it and get some pretty unique ones going, whether it's a puck line, whether it's a total or anything like that. I'm going to start things off. We'll go to Carmine after, and then Matthew. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going with Tampa Bay on their team total over 3.5. I'm going to take Detroit completely out of the situation, out of the picture, and bank on Tampa Bay at -110, 115 odds here to reach that 4-goal mark here on a young Detroit team that I believe will just get walked all over here. My best bet for the show will be Tampa Bay on their team total over 3.5. And Carmine, will throw it to you.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I'm guessing that Andrew did not read our company production crew one, where I also have a best bet on Tampa team total over 3.5. With that said, I'll go a little different here, and I'll just take Tampa Bay on the alternate puck line -2.5 +130.
Carm, what's wrong with us having the same opinion? It's okay. Hey, a winner's a winner. We're allowed to have the same opinion.
They're tuning in for some different thoughts. They don't want the same thing. It's kind of like Matt, punching Lyle Oleine about 5 to 10 times in the head. You can watch it a couple times, but after the second one, you don't want to watch it anymore. So.
And before we wrap things up and go to Matthew for his best bet, Carmine, just let us know what we can get from you at WagerTalk.com today, whether it's soccer or NHL.
Yeah, speaking of those 5% plays, I did have one up yesterday for those guys who followed my soccer play. Man United laying a goal, and they won by 9-0. So that worked out pretty good for all the customers, and a ton of you guys bought them, so that was great. Today, 3 plays EPL action kicks off at 1:00. So head over to WagerTalk.com, click on my capper page, and you'll find the EPL package there. NHL, nothing up as of yet.
Only 2 games, Matthew, but let's hear a best bet from you. Anything you can give us for the show.
First of all, Carmine, I'm never, ever going to get bored with punching Lyle Oleine in the face, because the alternative is I get punched in the face. So never becomes boring to me when I hear those analogies. I love Tampa Bay. I'm taking the puck line -1.5, but I also love Philadelphia anytime they're getting plus money, I'm all over it. I think these teams are very close. So I love Philly, and I probably won't be on the show before the Super Bowl. I'm hammering Kansas City, and I still can't believe on a lot of markets that it hasn't went to 3.5. So I'm all over Kansas City. A lot of prop bets going that way, and I also like the over in the anthem. Anytime you have a duet, they're gonna fight for the stage going over on the national anthem.
I'm writing that one
Great
down.
stuff
I like
there.
that one.
Little bit of everything. A little bit of everything there. Matthew, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us here. All of you guys out there watching Puck Time, our loyal customers, loyal viewers, find Matt on Twitter at Matt Barnaby 3636 for Carmine, for Matt, for all of our producers. Thank you guys so much for watching us here today on Puck Time on WagerTalk TV. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern right here on WagerTalk TV. My best bet will be the over 6 with the Canucks and the Habs. I feel like both these teams will have tremendous pace, just the same way we saw them last time. And the Habs, they probably are coming in a little bitter after their game last time, getting shut out, not having the best performance themselves. So that's my best bet, the over 6 here. And also, people have been requesting props from me. Here's a prop for you. David Pastrnak, over 1.5 points, plus 150. That line is back, like Dave said. I feel like it's ready to go. And it's a great, great plus price. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Go to Dave's page directly after this show. Buy his big play. Buy Carmine's plays. Check out my stuff as well at WagerTalk. We appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here.
Luck in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets from now until Super Bowl 56 on February 6, 2022 from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1,200. That's versus the regular price of $19.99. This discount comes out to just $3 a day. As an added bonus, customers who take advantage of the Super Bowl to Super Bowl All Access Pass will also receive $200 in wager bucks to use at any handicapper at WagerTalk over the next 12 months. Just head over to WagerTalk.com, pick your favorite handicapper in the experts drop-down menu, and lock them in through next year for only $100 a month.